Welcome back to Your Story Medicine. Today, I am with the amazing couple goals, Nyasha and Reuben, who consider themselves a twin flame couple. And they work together as the Ascension Seed to spread healing, empowerment, and unity consciousness for collective liberation. They offer their work in service to the multidimensional manifestation of unconditional love on Earth. They are passionate about dismantling all forms of separation and oppression to envision and create a world where all people are free to live equally in power, sovereignty, and abundance. They offer their frequency through potent, love filled decolonial spaces for inner alchemy, soul remembrance, and activation in the form of online courses, trainings, retreats, and activations. Like, what decolonial spaces in entrepreneurship? So, anyways, I'm so excited to have this conversation with them today because of the ways that they have been showing up in embodied leadership. So, welcome, Nyasha and Reuben. Welcome, the Ascension Seed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Honored to be here.
Yes. So, because both you and I talk so much about abundance, especially in BIPOC spaces. One of the first entry points to abundance begins with gratitude. And I would love to hold this space for the both of you to share what is it that you are celebrating about yourselves today?
Mm. You want to start, or should
You can start.
Today, today I'm celebrating my courage to continually lean into the work as it arises. The work of meeting my shadow, of going first, into the places that are uncomfortable and painful, and finding the medicine there and finding my own power of self-healing in those places so that I can be a lighthouse for others to do the same. And yeah, I feel like we're going through an initiation at the moment as we expand our frequency again, and there's more coming to the surface to be cleared, and our consciousness is expanding. And so yeah, I'm witnessing myself in this moment, in my capacity to hold this space of in between, of shape shifting, and um, to nourish myself in this time in the ways I need. And I'm celebrating that because that's these moments and these times are what kind of pave the way for all the other things that people see on the outside more. This stuff is often more inner, and it's more private, and you share when you're ready, and but the fruits of the work goes so far, so yeah, that's what I'm celebrating today.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely celebrating the achievements that we have accomplished so far. It can be so easy to be in a state of unpresence and really looking towards where you think you need to be, and not actually acknowledging the journey that you have that you have manifested. Um, in the past few days, I've definitely been feeling a sense of overwhelm of so many things that we need to do, things that we need to keep, like, this kind of this toxic kind of masculine energy of like make stuff happen, like we need to be productive, we need to keep on, like we need momentum, like this energy of you're just kind of forcing energy, um and yeah, just kind of today, and also listening to your question, in reflection, just really trying to honor what we have achieved. It's amazing what we have been able to achieve, and in the short time, in a state of being grateful for what we have achieved and honoring myself, doing my best to appreciate myself for all I've done, honoring ourselves as parents, trying to raise a young entity, a young being in the world that it is at the moment, in the way that the world is currently processing and experiencing life. And then the work that we're doing, the offerings that are being birthed through us, the shadow work we're doing together and individually, the reflections we're meeting through different people and things that are coming up. Just taking some time at the moment to be really appreciative and honor what we have achieved already. I feel like it's very easy forget about that and constantly be looking towards what we need to do next, you know? So that's where I am at the moment.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for you mentioning the shadow work because it's so easy to see the graphics and put up the quotes. It's so easy to make the fun reels and show the times where we are embodied in our pleasure. But what a lot of people don't see is the work that it takes to show up, to be visible. At least for me, when I first started, like 4 years ago, I didn't know of any BIPOC folks who were talking about abundance, who were talking about making money and had businesses that were actually in alignment with our values. And so it's just such sweet medicine for my soul to now recognize that as a part of abundance, I don't have to be the only one holding this container. There are other people that exist, and we need more of us who get to do this work, but not from a place of hustle and grind like we are taught in this industry, but to show that there can be another way. Yes, you can do it from a place of ease and pleasure while recognizing that oftentimes that journey to ease is going to come with a lot of resistance because, I mean, at least for me, over 30 years and beyond 30 years, our parents who have had to hustle and grind is all that we know. So, in your own words, if you could describe your medicine, like taking away all the titles, how is it that you would share what it is you do in the world?
Liberate love. That's what it comes down to. Like, that's the essence of it all, you know? Like, freeing love, the love that wants to flow from within all of us, you know, in all ways to all people. And, like, within that love, that freedom of love, like, all the other things come, you know? And it's, you know, it's the liberation of the soul through the portal of love and, like, the medicine of love and connecting to divine love around us, connecting to the essence of love within us, you know, allowing ourselves to heal through the power of our own love and to dissolve the walls to allowing ourselves to be in a state of love and express that love freely into the world and to receive that love freely back, that true divine unconditional love. I feel like that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah. Ruben, do you have your own definition? Or like, the
Mm.
queen's got it?
Well, you know, this is one of the things that like the divine feminine is can tap so much more easily into that energy because it's in her nature, you know. It's yeah, listening to Nyasha speak sometimes, she can describe something that I'm thinking and feeling in a way that I just can't because I'm not. Yeah, it's processing differently through my body, you know. Um, but yeah, to go back to your question about about how to describe our work. I mean, yeah, it's definitely this energy of freeing, releasing, processing. When Yasha's sharing about liberating love, I'm really seeing a vision of of all of the conditions that have been placed upon love. Kind of maneuvering, not maneuvering around them without avoiding them to come to a kind of working around them to kind of ease them, kind of rub them and nurture them and kind of support them to come into a place of more wholesomeness and more true unity, not the illusion of unity. We're very passionate about liberating all souls and unity consciousness and those higher perspectives. We're all about that, but we're very much we also want to be very aware of where that can be used to bypass a lot of the things that are going on the planet. It's I often say this a lot of the time. People come into spiritual spaces and to spiritual work and to spiritual truths to sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes kind of avoid some of the deeper things that they have manifested, some of the wounds they have. It can be a bit of a band-aid rather than a tool to actually transmute and move energy, it can be a coping mechanism to do meditation, to do yoga, to, you know, even shadow work to a degree. There's a point of us that constantly wants to be working on ourselves, that constantly wants to be doing the next course, that constantly wants to be doing something, feeling like we're making something happen. Um, so yeah, we're just we're very we're very passionate about finding that sweet spot of, you know, honoring the work that we do have to do, that to move and to transform and help the planet actually heal, um, whilst also honoring the real things that are happening. So it's like this, it's like, yeah, finding this sweet spot all the time.
And bridging the dimensions of like the higher truths with like this reality, the 3D,
Yeah.
you know, and like our lived experience in human bodies, and like what is really like to be a human connecting to, you know, higher spiritual truths, and the process of integrating those things into your life and experience so that they become embodied.
Yeah, one of the biggest questions I have been asking myself is, okay, what is busy work and what is actual embodiment? Because sometimes the busy work is just a reflection of what I think I'm supposed to do based off how I've seen others show up.
Mm.
And it doesn't feel in alignment with my body. And I also have been exercising my discernment of, is contraction really a prerequisite for expansion? Or is it my body telling me it's not safe? Go the other direction. So it, growing up in a Western world, these embodiment practices are not something that is passed down onto us. It's something that we have had to pick up in our adult years, and really it's just going back to our inner children and learning how to play again, knowing that it's safe. Like, oh my God, this work is such deep inner child healing and ancestral healing work. Okay, is this my own, or is this from a past life, or from my mother, or
Yeah.
from an ancestor I've never met? So what is your ancestral lineage, and how is that influencing the ways that you're showing up today?
Mm.
So my ancestral lineage is, well, my mother is Indian. She was born in South Africa, but her parents are from India, and my father is Ethiopian. And he came to the UK as a political refugee after being part of a revolution in Ethiopia which failed, and he had to leave in exile, and he came to Sussex, which is where he met my mum. You know, it's all the way that things had to align for them to be there in order to meet and then birth our children. It's very beautiful. And yeah, that's my lineage. And the other question was, how is it impacting the way I'm showing up today? Well, I feel like it's so fundamental to everything that we do and everything that we are and our whole reason for being. Like, you know, like it's inseparable. Like it is the way we show up. It's not like everything about us is informed by our ancestral lineage, and we, from my perspective, like we've chosen these bodies and these lineages for specific reasons, on a soul level, in order to do the work that our soul came to do on earth, and to liberate specific things from certain timelines and certain genetic lines and stuff, and like so there's specific types of liberation and freedom work and healing that we have chosen to do by incarnating into these timelines. And so for me, like as that relates to so far on my journey with my mother's lineage, has been a lot of stuff around freeing my feminine essence from forms of control and kind of the suppression of my sexual energy and of my body, and of my freedom in some ways to kind of be sovereign, and you know, just to have my own boundaries around what feels right and true and good to me, and you know, like breaking away from the mainstream structure of like, you know, how most people are expected to do life in our world was like a big departure for me from some of the oppression in my lineage from my mum's line, for example. And yeah, so that's been really powerful. But then there's this other side. I feel like part of, for me, the lineage work is like, it's part of it is liberating yourself from, you know, some of the what some people call intergenerational curses, or some of the wounding in the lineage. And then there's also the side of reclaiming the power and the you know, the cultural roots and the richness and the spiritual wisdom of the lineage. And so it's so beautiful how you get both sides. And so we traveled to India together. It's actually where we conceived our child, and that was the first time I'd been back to India, and it was a huge healing for me and awakening. Like on that trip I did loads of healing of my mother wound and my lineage, and also it was a deep homecoming to myself as an Indian, you know, like as someone who is Indian, even though obviously I'm half African too. Like I'm Indian and I'm African, I'm not half and half, like I'm both, right? So I felt myself as an Indian, and I came there and I'm like, I'm here, I'm home, like I'm home, this is my place, I've been here, this is me. Like I'm finding myself and seeing myself again reflected and feeling myself by my presence on the land, you know. And so it was so deep, and it was such an embodied experience. It's not something that I can easily describe. It's not like, oh, I learned this, and I reclaimed this part of my ancestry, and I got this skill or gift came online, and I'm now practicing this thing. Like, it's so much more, you know, like, you know, like intangible in many ways, but it's a felt sense of like home and reclamation and like rootedness. And so yeah, that was just so powerful for me going back there. And that's one thing that I really feel for everyone. It's like, if you haven't already, get back to your ancestral lands, go and put your feet on the land. You know, do a DNA test if you don't know where your ancestors are from, and find out, and then find a way in your life, you know, as soon as you can, to get to that land and put your feet on the land and be with the people and absorb from the land. And so for my Ethiopian side, it's, you know, Ethiopia's very rich, ancient place, you know, like, so there's deep rooted wisdom there. And I've always felt more connected to my Ethiopian side because I have had a different relationship with my dad to my mum. So it's been interesting how my relationship to my Indian side and my Ethiopian side was reflected my relationship to my mother or my father and these sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, Ethiopian culture is very rich and full of love, and there's just rich spiritual wisdom there. And again, it's, you know, I felt connected to the land there and to the people there from a very young age, long before I ever went there. And it's just running through me, you know, like the music, the love, the essence of the land and the people, and you know, it's beyond words. It's not something that I can explain very easily, but it's just, I feel, you know, I know a lot of people feel a calling to Ethiopia and connection to Ethiopia, and I feel that, but like in a huge way, because it's running through me. Like the energy of that land is my body, you know, my body reflects the energy of that land in so many ways. And Reuben, you'd really connected to Ethiopia in some ways too. And so when he met me, he'd been on a journey. He can share more, but he'd been to India, and he'd also connected, you know, deeply to Rastafari and to Ethiopia in some ways, even though he hadn't been. So then when he met me, he was like, whoa, like, I've just been in India. You're like half Indian and half Ethiopian. Wow, like these two things come together in you. And he was like, I've just been to India and you haven't even been. And so we went together, and it was really beautiful. But yeah, so that's kind of a bit around me and my ancestry.
Yeah. Wow. I just went into a portal listening to Nyasha speak about the energy in her body. Jeez. Yeah, my ancestral lineage. My mother, my father. So my father he was born in the UK as well, but his parents are from Jamaica, and my mother, she was born in the UK as well, and her parents are also British. But a few generations back, I have family like from the Holocaust, and then on my dad's side, you know, his parents are from Jamaica, but originally they would have been from Africa, so probably, you know, somewhere in West Africa. I'm not sure yet. I still also want to do a DNA test to figure out, well, to get some pointers as to where maybe some of my lineage is from. But yeah, that was something that I noticed when I started to look into that, is that there's these two sides of oppression on both sides, like the kind of the lineage I have from the Holocaust, which is only like 2 or 3 generations back. And then from my father's side, which is oppression in different ways actually, because if we go back enough, it would have been the slave trade. But then my grandparents, who moved to the UK from Jamaica, you know, they moved here kind of the Windrush era, and the era where a lot of black people came to the UK. So, you know, there's still some threads there of this energy of, you know, kind of being taken from your land really and promised a better living, you know. So I still have some of those codes kind of running through me. Um, and how does it show up in my work? It's such an interesting question, an amazing question that you ask, because I feel recently I've been doing quite a lot of work, a lot of masculine healing work, and something that showed up to me is that, you know, I don't have, in my immediate family, I never really had any like warrior energy, anybody who would take action to like to make their dreams a reality, or, you know, saw a vision for success. So maybe a few generations back I did, but like my mother and my father, they're people who are incredibly talented, but you know, never, it was something that they never pursued. So that has obviously had an effect on me, the way I've grown up, where I haven't had the same drive for like, and it's not even like a unhealthy drive of like making stuff happen, but it's like the energy and the
Self-belief.
the self-belief and just the courage to like, you know, to make your dreams happen and kind of do what makes you feel alive, and believe that you can make a living off that. That's something I've really had to work through, you know, since meeting Nyasha, and since I kind of, since I went to India by myself about, I think about 5 years ago now or something. It was really that breaking away from everything that I knew and everything that, like, I decided to go to India for 3 months by myself, and everyone was saying to me, why would you do something like that? And I was like, I want to completely disconnect from everything that I know. I want to like immerse myself in a completely different culture, which I don't really know anything about, you know. And I want to just learn, and that's exactly what it was for me. It was going into the unknown with a sense of like, it's just you and God, really. You know, you have to follow your heart and see what energy manifests, like really tune into your intuition. So yeah, I mean, I definitely have some deep connection to India. I don't know what that is about, because in this direct timeline, I don't really have any Indian roots that I know of at all. Maybe I do, who knows? But that was a massive part. I think what it is because devotion is so strong in India. It's just a very natural part of the way of life. It brings out those sorts of things within you, you know. So I feel like the devotion is something that helped me to connect deeper to God in my own way, where I could go back to some of the things my parents exposed me to when I was younger, but from my own lens, you know. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of my ancestral lineage. But yeah, it's a really interesting question. I'm really grateful you asked that, because it really helped me to reflect on some of the energy that I'm carrying, you know, like some of the conscious and unconscious energy that I'm carrying. So yeah, it's really interesting to tune into that energy and just really tune into what we're carrying. I feel like a lot of people don't know their history at all. That's one thing that we discovered a lot when we were doing some of our racial healing work earlier last year, was that we realized that, you know, especially within, you know, in white-bodied people, that there's a massive disconnect from their ancestral lineage, but it's been purposely created like that, you know. It's not like it's not just something that just happened. Like, there's a whole reason behind that, and people of color, they've of course they also have been kind of stolen away from their roots in a different type of way, but there is still a sense of rootedness and connection to that essence. It's something that can be tapped into more easily, you know. So in some ways, you know, I mean, there's work to do. Everyone has their own work to do, but people carrying white bodies, there's deeper layers of the work that they need to do, so they can connect to their own ancestry, you know.
And that's why there's so much appropriation often, because there's this bereftness, this cultural bereftness, and this disembodiment in those who are in white bodies often. So the closest thing that they can feel to a sense of connection to themselves and God and to spirit often is through practices that derive from people of color in the global south. And then because of the unconscious kind of programming around you know, exploiting and you know, colonial imprints and things like that, you know, often people unknowingly, like, they think they're just like, oh, I love this, I'm connected to this, so this is now mine and I can take this, you know. And it doesn't ever get them where they really want to go, because they're still replicating, you know, the same structure, which is upholding so much of, you know, the imbalances in our world. But anyway, you know, that's a whole other topic.
Oh, no. And well, this is, I mean, at least for me, this is exactly why I started my business, going to Thailand, being the only not just the only person of color, but the only person of Thai lineage in a room full of white bodies who were there to learn how to become Thai traditional healers. And it was such a huge pain point for me because I'm like, who am I? Who am I to return back to my roots, to reclaim and remember the ways of my ancestors when my own people are struggling to make ends meet? My generation has no desire to learn these practices, and yet these white bodies can take these teachings, go back to their countries, and market themselves as being the exotic ones who do alternative healing. But the awakening for me was the realization that me directing my anger and frustration towards them was not changing anything. And when I came back to the United States, it was the realization as well that I had been living so much of my life as an activist, as an artist, constantly wanting to dismantle things, dismantle these systems, dismantle these old ways of thinking without having a vision of what will come next. And so, how is it that we can be the ones to fulfill those roles while also not martyring ourselves in the process? Because that's what we also see so much of. Like, we take on the suffering of the world as our own. And oh gosh, okay. So, both you and I know Uttara. I've been working with Uttara, who's been such an amazing light. And we were going back and forth in the DMs about how to further decolonize our offerings and what would it look like to expand our services beyond people of color to just say all bodies, with the awareness that there is still so much work to do. And it hit me. How decolonial can you get until we realize that the ultimate truth is love? That's a really, really challenging pill to swallow because there's just so much healing that still needs to happen in our own communities. And like you were saying, how much healing can we do until you can release the narrative that there needs to be any more? So, my question for y'all is, how is it that we decolonize abundance?
Wow, yeah. Thank you for those sharings and reflections. Um, I feel like I don't think it's like a thing. It's like, okay, we've done decolonize.
Here's your checklist, and you can download the freebie of how you can start decolonizing your abundance today. Well, I guess if anything, instead of the how to, it's like, yes, what is like, and I know that there's not an exact framework, but what was your journey into realizing that we need to decolonize the ways that we're talking about abundance that isn't so spiritually bypassy and get straight to the root?
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, for us, we weren't really like super tapped in our consciousness to this aspect of the work until we obviously decided that we were wanting to empower ourselves and change our relationship to money and to abundance, which happened only last year after the first lockdown. Well, when the first lockdown hit, and then we were like, okay, great, like let's start to learn about like what true abundance healing is, because we had an idea of abundance healing and abundance work, but it was very superficial and it wasn't, the deep work. We hadn't journeyed there yet. And then we were immediately like, oh, like we're just seeing so many like white faces, like and like they're talking kind of, mostly it feels like and appears to be to white people, and like, you know, we've actually since come across more people of color teaching on abundance and stuff, but like there's just still such a small amount compared to the amount of people of color in the world who really really need this work, right? And so we were like immediately like, oh my god, okay, there's just such a lack of people of color in this industry, in this field, and the people that are teaching are not teaching from a decolonized perspective. So they are replicating, unknowingly or knowingly maybe sometimes, replicating the very same structures which create this huge financial inequality, which create, like racial separation, racial violence, all of the different things, like the illusion of white supremacy, all of the structures of our world. they are still replicating these same things, very likely in their intentions for why they want to create wealth, and how they're teaching it to others, and the motivation behind it. And they're not holding space for the nuances of like, people of color are going to have different blocks into the work. People of color aren't going to have the same accessibility into the work. We're not like, there's often this sense of, oh well, on a quantum level, like we're all one, and so the same laws apply to everyone, and that's obviously true on a quantum level. But in the 3D, in these bodies, our density, our matter is carrying different things, different blockages, different beliefs, different traumas. And on top of that, the 3D structures of the world around us are also carrying different things, different structures and imbalances in power, in access, availability of like time, money, potential, like seeing people doing the things that you can do as well, who look like you, to empower you in that way. And so all of these things are playing out on an unconscious, subtle level in the teachings of those who haven't decolonized their offerings and their mindset around abundance, and around their awareness of this 3D reality, and how like all of these, how racism or white supremacy are impacting people of color's capacity to do this work, or their likeness to even align with it, let alone their capacity to invest in it, and then also the work that has to be done in the body for them, the different types of clearing and healing, through our bloodlines, the different levels of poverty consciousness. And in that sense, there's a responsibility, a collective responsibility for more balance, right? If we want true financial liberation, we have to acknowledge that there needs to be a different way of moving into the work for different people in different bodies. And if you're a white body person teaching on abundance, the way we perceive it is that you have a greater responsibility to give access to people of color to this work. Like, you need to go out of your way to reach people of color. And if you're creating huge amounts of wealth as a white body person, you need to be redistributing that wealth directly to people of color to support their financial and liberation and their healing and the redistribution of wealth and power. And these conversations are just not present. We didn't see it present in almost any of the abundance work that we were encountering initially. And we've definitely seen a few teachers now who are more aware, and people of color who are teaching in this way. But we've also seen people of color who are just trying to empower other people of color and other people in general, which is really great and important. But it's not necessarily dialing into the decolonial stuff, which isn't necessarily sending that signal to everyone. Like, I feel like everyone needs to be aware of this aspect of it for your own personal healing journey. If you're a person of color, like, oh, okay, my blocks to creating wealth are different because I'm a person of color. Like, this needs to be implicit. It's not just enough to see another person of color and be like, great, they can do it, so I can do it too. That's obviously important, but there's other layers. Like, it's not, because that still can, if you don't have it explicitly addressed, then it can still feed into this idea that it's just the same for everyone, and the consciousness that worked for them is just going to work for me, and I don't necessarily have different ancestral wounds that I need to heal, or I'm not necessarily my skin color isn't going to impact my journey of healing as it relates to money and abundance and my ancestral lineage and all of these different things. So I feel like when you ground abundance work in decoloniality and ancestral healing, you immediately, call in all these other threads from within you that need to be addressed for you to truly rise in embodied abundance, and for you to truly create wealth in a way that is contributing towards the new ecosystem, of abundance for all, right? True abundance for all. It's not just, oh, I can do it, so anyone can do it, and as a white body person, I'm just going to overlook all of the other things that are, being blanketed in my kind of, like pushing that perspective onto everyone, as if what's true for me is true for everyone else. And it's worked for me, so it'll work for everyone. And yeah, I just feel like there's just such a lack of diversity in that perspective, and such an avoidance of the deeper layers of the work. And ultimately, the reason it's not there in abundance work is because it's not there in people's inner work, and it's just a reflection of the way that people relate to racism, the construct of race, the reality in this 3D world. The suffering and of people of color in the global south. Like, if you're not aware of this as a white body person, it's not going to be there in your teachings in any area, abundance or something else, And so for us, like, we want to bring a decolonial perspective into everything we do. Like, ever since we really came into our sole purpose even more when we did Racism Revealed to Heal last year after the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and we created that multidimensional racial healing program. After that, we've been like always like, okay, how are we seeding decoloniality into this and calling everyone inside our space forward in their knowledge and acknowledgement of, you know, this aspect of healing and how can they restore true balance in their own way by healing in this way and expanding their consciousness with the kind of umbrella of decoloniality. And obviously as well, we also hold a vision for the world that we want to create, like, you know, forward, you know, like down the line, generations ahead, where we can let go of colonialism completely. We're not even being decolonial, which still has the word colonial in. That's just cleared from our consciousness, from our thoughts, from our way of being, and we're in a different, you know, space-time, completely a different dimension. But right now, while we're still here, like, you know, we need to be grounding that awareness and that knowledge in.
Yeah, if racism is 500 years old, I think many of us forget that our ancestral wisdom expands thousands and thousands of years beyond that, but also because the wounds are still very fresh, that's something that we do need to address first. And at the time of this recording, there's been an escalation of violence in the Asian community here in the United States. And one of the things that I've been reflecting on lately is how violence is a byproduct of people who have forgotten where it is they come from. And so that doesn't mean, okay, buy a plane ticket and go back to your roots, because obviously not everybody knows where their roots might come from, and they might not have the privilege to be able to go back. But that also just means sitting with the dark shadows of your lineage, learning how to befriend that, and then saying, it stops here, it stops in my generation, and I will not pass this down. All of the violence that I have seen happen is because of the fear that somebody else is going to take from me. And it's like, if we live in an abundant universe, then nobody's here to take anything. There is enough to go around. And I just imagine, what would it be like, not just for people of color, but for white bodies to be able to do their own decolonial healing work, and that it doesn't become the responsibility of people of color to hold that container, but that we can come together and do the work of creating this new paradigm, this new earth, without allowing race to be the central focus. Though that is a conversation we still need to be having right now, as challenging as it is, which is why I think it is still valuable that we do have affinity groups, or we do have safe spaces where we can talk about these things without feeling like we are walking on eggshells. And 2020 was a huge trigger to that. You said 2020 has been an initiation into the energetics of death. And now we are in the phase of rebirth. So I would love to hear from y'all. What is it that you have been doing to plant your seeds, to reawaken, to stay grounded in these times? And also, what is it that you have learned to compost and release?
Well, in these times of massive upheaval and collective shadow, we have just been grounding in our truth as much as possible, on these topics, on understanding the nature of interconnectedness with all of the earth, and giving ourselves space to be and not feel like like I was saying earlier, not feeling like we need to be doing things all the time, like you were just saying. It really is important that it's not just people of color that are constantly putting themselves out to do the work. And there are a lot of amazing white allies who are all about this. They have really grounded in that reality, and they are, they're kind of learned as much as they can, and they're always learning, and they're doing the best they can to take some of that weight of people of color. I feel like we are very blessed with the consciousness we have unlocked. It's a privilege to be able to heal. Like, you know, our ancestors way back, it would have been a normal thing in their life. It wouldn't have been a privilege. It would have just been a way of life. But to have access to this consciousness in times like this, it is a privilege for sure. So we are, you know, we're honoring that as much as we can every day, and using those tools to help us expand our work and help us, you know, keep on spreading this energy from a place of overflow rather than a place of depletion, and feeling like we need to constantly be giving something, constantly be energizing the movement and the struggle, like fighting the struggle, like this tense energy that really it's quite painful to be in that state all the time of like we need to constantly be striving for changing, fighting for change, and like that whole energy is damaging. It's really damaging to our bodies, to our mental state, to our physicality, to the people around us sometimes as well. Of course, we want to educate people, we want to uplift them, we want them to learn. But yeah, there's a massive compassion piece that is missing. And we know that to be in a state of service in these times and to nurture ourselves, we need to have as much compassion for ourselves as we can, and for others who have no idea about this work. You know, that is a massive thing which can really create separation within this field, is the lack of compassion and understanding. And it can be triggering when somebody who's completely unconscious of the reality of race and the structures that we are living in that are deeply embedded in the earth, in the world, in our planet. But they're within that space, there can be a block to learning deeper about how that's manifested in the other person, and the space for healing can it's harder to access that space. So yeah, that's kind of what I feel to share in response to your question.
And for me, so in terms of ways that I've been grounding, like time with the earth is just so fundamental. I feel like every layer of my healing journey, I'm like deepening in communion with Gaia and like returning to Gaia's body, like laying my body on the earth, touching the earth, like listening to nature, communing with the elements. Like this is so fundamental. And anytime we, you know, ingest or touch or connect with any of the elements, there's an opportunity for wisdom, for healing, for clearing, for release. So I'm just like every day like deepening with the water, with the land, with the air that I'm breathing, with the wind around me, like anytime I'm with fire as well, just enjoying so much like the medicine of the earth, the gifts of the earth, how the earth like provides us with so much abundance for our healing. Like it's such a clear mirror to us, like always. Like if we go out in nature, we are gonna see, we're gonna find clarity, we're gonna find peace, like we're gonna feel clearing. Like just being in nature just heals us, like and it's completely free and available, and it's the best healing medicine there is. You know, like if there's one thing I'd say to anyone like on a journey of self-healing, just start spending more time in nature, in silence, you know, on your own if possible. If not, just in nature, just being in nature every day just catalyzes healing and expansion in so many ways. And so yeah, like in these times of, you know, great upheaval, as we kind of purge and clear collectively, like I know it's so important for me to remain clear within myself, to remain coherent. So I'm really, you know, tuning out of other energies that can distort my frequency, that can create distraction or confusion or incoherence within me, so that I can be super clear on what's happening within me, what's mine, you know, do my own work, you know, fully, and really fill my cup up through, you know, self-love, through supporting myself however I can, getting support where I can as well, so that I'm not carrying it all on my own, and we can unconsciously fall into that pattern. And it's a big pattern that, you know, most people have to clear in some way to let yourself be supported and let people hold you. So lots of that, like resourcing myself, filling up my own cup, like just being so conscious about everything that I'm bringing into my all of my bodies, to my mental body, to my physical body, to my spiritual body, to my emotional body. Like what am I listening to? What words, what's coming out of me? What am I putting in? What's around me? How is what is around me affecting me? Like so much discernment and just deep awareness within the body. How does my body feel? Like what do I need right now? Like what am I learning about my choices, the choices I'm making from the way that my reality mirror is responding to me? And so much of that awareness is available to us every moment, and it's free, right? Like nature is free. Awareness of what we're experiencing in our body is free. And that's why I feel it's so good for all of us to just be more present with what is happening now. And that is such an amazing way for you to create change in your life. Like, what's here now, and how am I responding to it? And how can I work with what's available to me in a way that creates, more fulfillment, more healing, more presence, more connection, more joy, more spaciousness, more ease. And these are choices that we make. It's like every moment, what choice are we making? Okay, if we could see ourselves, and I'm trying to switch on that lens, and I'm trying to see myself as much as I can, moment to moment, so that I can identify when I fall into unconsciousness, what triggers me to kind of fall back asleep temporarily and then act from a pattern instead of from a conscious choice, That's a big part of what I'm really kind of going into a much deeper level with, really sensing the subtle energetics that are creating incoherences in my field and are weakening my vibration and are causing other energies to come in and interfere and siphon my energy, so that it can be pulled towards, my own wounds or my shadow or other people's agendas, instead of here with my sovereignty of being an anchor for true love on earth, right? Because when you want to anchor into true love, and you want to hold that pure, strong frequency, there are other forces which try to siphon your energy and pull you in different directions, so that you can't be a force of liberation. And so it's not just you. Sometimes we think it's our own patterns and it's just us, but it's us, and there's other energetics and entities, and I'm not going into all of what those are or where they come from, but there's other forces, oppositional forces in the universe that also want to siphon you, and they attach to you and will plug you into certain thought forms and certain patterns, and want to keep you locked in choices that harm you on some level, or that pull you in the direction that isn't your, absolute alignment with source and with love and with self, So that's kind of that's the big thing that I'm kind of doing, which is a kind of moment by moment process. And what I'm releasing is, any illusion of powerlessness, any parts of me that, will create excuses for why I can't be who I want to be and show up for myself and for God and for love and for service in the way I want to show up. Why I don't always honor what I really need, all of these things. I'm just clearing away so much of that, releasing false powerlessness, releasing my illusions, releasing distortions, releasing my attachment to other people or external things as a reason for why I can't, unlock my soul essence more and more, and let my consciousness expand more. So attachments, identities that I've taken on unconsciously with who I've been before, because I feel like I'm expanding. We're all expanding so much right now, and as we do that, we go through a constant death and rebirth, but it's okay, the next version of you that is required at this time, who's way more embodied in truth and love and your soul, you can't be that version and also be who you've been, and all of the unconscious attachments that have, and oh, I'm this and I'm that, and I do things this way, and this is what I believe. It's well, you need to collapse all of it, and then become more anchored in your truth now and the truth of who you're becoming. And so I'm just embracing that. I'll let anything die that needs to die. I'll meet whatever I need to meet, even if it's uncomfortable. And for me, it's just I want to become who God is asking me to become. And God maybe doesn't resonate with everyone, but whatever the divine source, the universe, whatever speaks to you, there's a force that is at play, in the multiverse, that is calling us all into truth and to love and to wholeness in all dimensions. And that force is calling you into wholeness within, so that you can be part of that collective wholeness. And so I'm what I think I want, what my human thinks and what my ego thinks, what I've projected, I don't care about that. I want what is true. I only want what is true freedom. I only want what is true love, And so whatever I need to do, and however my life and body and personality and anything and beliefs need to be rearranged for me to become more true, that's what I want.
Yes, I'm right there with you all the way. Nature is the greatest teacher of abundance. And it's just oh, wow, you don't discriminate. This fruit doesn't say, oh, because you're melanated, you cannot eat me. It's just like, whenever I'm feeling depleted, I just remember that Mother Nature is here to give, and also our capacity to be able to expand in our own abundance consciousness and our ability to give is also a reflection of how much it is we are also willing to receive. And that has
Mm.
also been a big lesson. Can I allow myself to receive support, recognizing that I don't have to do this alone? And can I celebrate that there gets to be more leaders, more people who get to be a part of this collective consciousness, this awakening? And so I'm very, very, very grateful for the both of you who have chosen to ascend beyond these old belief systems and to decolonize all the ways we are approaching this work by coming back to source, by coming back to love. And I know that one of the rituals that has been such a great amplifier for people to be able to receive your medicine goes beyond just uh, talk, but through sound and through vibrations. So I know that you wanted to close this out with one of your other forms of medicine. So
Mm.
I'll just leave that with y'all so I can be here to receive.
Yes, 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 we would love to share. So, inviting you and everyone who's listening and receiving this, just close down your eyes and settle into the body. And just allowing the energy that you've received through this transmission, this conversation to settle down into your form, into your cells, and opening to receive a transmission of channeled sound and light frequency to support integration of this energy in all of your bodies, in all space-time realities, in all dimensions. Intentionally opening each of your chakras, opening fully to receive. Letting the mind fall away as you enter into the multiverse of the body. Feeling the trillions of cells within you, your own unique star system, and each star within you receiving a transmission of crystalline light through sound, waves carrying the vibration of all of the consciousness and healing that has been shared and transmitted through this conversation. Opening and allowing it in, inviting it to land deeply wherever it is needed within your body. Feeling this transmission of sacred sound vibrating through your cells, singing and dancing. Allowing all of this energy to be easily integrated within you. A shower of iridescent light from the source, washing and cleansing all of your bodies, your space, your field of any energy you've released through this experience, this journey. Feeling yourself returning fully to the body, present, grounded into Gaia, into the earth, feeling your body lighter and clearer, breathing in and exhaling into a sigh of gratitude. Gently bringing movement to your fingers and toes, and stretching out, and in your own time returning back to your body with your eyes open.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for tapping into a part of myself that I feel has been asleep. And yes, shout out to everybody who is also allowing themselves to receive this transmutation from the beautiful movement known as the Ascension Seed. And I feel this remembrance unfolding as the reincarnated ancestors we are. I'm even thinking about the beautiful life you brought into this world, who was conceived in your ancestral homeland, and how there was a conscious choice that was made from your child to reincarnate in this lifetime through your bodies. And wow, this this little baby ancestor has such a beautiful journey ahead of them. And if the both of you could speak as a future ancestor, looking back at the choices you've made in this lifetime, or witnessing you in your shadows, in those dark moments, what is it that you feel your future ancestor would say?
Thank you. Probably. I feel like future ancestor would say, thank you for being willing to do this work to liberate our bloodlines, and that the work you've done has contributed in so many ways, more than you could ever realize, more than you'd ever know. Like you have helped so much. Like the work we're doing now, like is, oh, it is having such a huge impact. Like we don't even realize, because we are often more tuned into our impact now, like the impact within our own life, the impact within the lives of those that we touch within the world. But like we are creating the future world by who we're being, by the way we're showing up, by the healing that we're doing. Like it's going to be transmitted through. Like this is what we're passing on. And like I love this question, because I feel like you're just dialing us in like so clearly to like like what we are birthing for the future through the way that we're showing up to our life and to our soul work and to our healing. And I just feel like I just feel like those future ancestors are like, they're calling us even further and deeper into the work. They're like, you're doing so great, like you're doing amazing, and what you're doing is having such an impact. So please, like, just give yourself to it even more. Like what you need to do, it's right. Like you've already pushed to the edges of your comfort zone so much, and you've gone to dark places, and you're capable of going so, even further into the dark. You're capable of like healing even more, like of clearing so much more from your bloodline. And like you can help liberate us so much. Like they're already in a liberated state because of the work we're doing now, and they're like, you've got so the rest of your life to play with. Like there's still so much more that you can help. Like wow, like, you can go there. We know you've got this. Like like we exist in the consciousness that we are in because of the work and the foundations that you laid for us. So like go big. Like like really expand consciousness now. Like go as far as you could possibly as far as you could possibly go. Like let your energy travel, let your consciousness expand, let your body raise its frequency, let yourself heal, give yourself what you need, be present, live your richest, fullest life of service, of communion with love, with God, with earth, of impact on the earth right now. Like free yourself in all ways as much as you can, and you will have ripple effects that impact the whole world in ways that you never understand.
Yes, and generations before and after you, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
That's the work. Both timelines going both ways.
We're liberating the past, we're liberating the future through the work we do in the present. That's it. Yeah, because I feel like it's with ancestral work, naturally we go to the past more. We're more like, okay, we're liberating ourselves because we're connected to the present moment and our lived experience, which is so directly related to the past. And so we're more aware of present and past, and it's like, oh no, but the future, they're there.
Yes.
We're free.
Cheering you on.
Keep going, like, free the bloodlines, like come on.
Yes. And then also my work might not be done in this lifetime, so I'm just might come back with that green Tara energy. If y'all are familiar with her, she's all like, yes, Tara was all like, okay, I know that I found enlightenment in this lifetime, and yes, I could go to nirvana and never experience suffering, but I choose to reincarnate into as many lifetimes as possible until race no longer becomes an issue, until abundance is actually a consciousness that is awakened in each and every single one of us, until gender is no longer a determining factor to who has access to this. So I know that what I'm doing is also planting seeds in the case I were to return to continue this work. And I want to share one more imagery that I received as you were speaking, because I was calling forth your baby, who I would be so excited to meet one day, especially when they are in adult body form receiving all of these transmissions. But but work is such a I like when we talk about work, there's like the ugh I don't want to work to do it. And then I just had this imagery of labor, what it's like to give birth. Our bodies are actually asking us to rest. It's asking us to receive. And then what? Suddenly this new life emerges. And then we have to rely on our intuition and our love to ensure that this little child is able to come into this world and grow into this world as somebody who can amend the wrongs of the adults who have forgotten their own medicine. So, what about less work and more rest in order to cultivate the abundance that we are calling forth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I
Yes.
think it's like, yeah, we can get rid of the word work, but like what when people say work, it's like we're reprogramming what that is. Like work is like rest is
Yes.
productive, you know? Like
Yes.
play is productive. Like, you know, your life is your work. Like everything, the way you're being in all moments. Like, and that's the beauty of when you come into line with your soul purpose, is that you can never not be working on your soul purpose. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not just
Yeah.
when you're doing the things outwardly, like it's all part of it, like everything. So it's like, it's just so beautiful being in line with your pleasure, being in line with your joy, being present in your real experience in each moment, and then meeting that experience in a way that creates growth and expansion, whatever it is. That is the work that you're meant to do at any point. And like the actual things that look like work, like they just effortlessly arise when we allow ourselves to be in alignment in each moment with whatever wants to happen in our experience and how we want to
Yeah.
respond to create growth. So,
Look,
so
I haven't
beautiful.
had a baby yet, so I just witnessed it through your lens. It looks beautiful in pictures, but shout out to all the mamas who are birthing their sacred offerings
Yeah.
as well as raising babies in the world. Like y'all
Mm-hmm.
are the realest ones we get to look up to.
Mm.
Reuben, what is it that your future ancestor would say to you?
Wow. My future ancestor would say to me, like, well done. You know, you have done so amazingly. Yeah, we're just so grateful for what you have achieved, for the energy that you have allowed yourself to go into, to the shadow that you have allowed yourself to, yeah, to go into. I feel like our ancestors saying that you're safe, you know, you're held, reminding us that we are supporting you in future timelines. And yeah, I just feel like there's this really nurturing energy and just this beaming of love, you know, and gratitude for what we're doing. And yeah, I really feel the sense of like I feel a lot of like joy and smiling and like nurturing and kind of supportive, like energy, like really love it. It feels like really loving parents. It's kind of like we're so grateful for what you've done, you know, like thank you so much for doing this work. And yeah, just a sense of you're safe, like, you know, if you're going to be in real danger, you know, you'll be protected. So like, you know, that line of like where should I really protect myself, or where can I feel safe to go into some of those more painful things, you are supported, you know, that energy of you are supported. You've done so well to get to this point. You know, we're so grateful for the work you're doing. Just thank you for showing up the way you have. Um, I want to say the word proud, but I feel like they're way beyond that. Like it's they're way beyond like
They're
I'm proud.
mind blown.
Yeah.
They're
Oh
like,
god.
wow.
Yeah, there's just this gratitude, this energy of gratitude, and yeah, openness, just pure, just beaming of love. And tuning into it now, I can feel like I feel how we are them now. Like, you know,
Yes,
it's not like we're
yes.
trying to tap into them.
Hmm.
It's like that we can tap into that right now, and we can be our future ancestors right now. Well, that's what we are really. And yeah, also reminding us that we're not doing this work for us. Like, it's not for us, you know, it's for collective vision, you know. Even the idea of like how do we decolonize, you know, that's a future goal. Like the structures, anything can happen, but the structures that are
Yeah.
currently in place on the earth, I don't think that's going to be in our timeline. So it's what we're
Yeah.
working towards. It's a collective vision, it's a mission going forward. um so yeah, keep doing the work. Like, you know, it's exciting, it's exciting.
Yes. Yeah. And I've realized that I have no desire to do this work for anybody, not even for my ancestors. I'd rather do it alongside them,
Yeah.
recognizing that I'm here in co-creation with anybody who I get to play with, whether in the physical or the spiritual realm. I thank the both of you so much for, yes, doing the love, the labor, for birthing all that is that you have birthed. And wow, thank you to everybody who has listened in all the way through our conversation. We recognize that today are just seeds, seeds of consciousness that are being planted. And how is it that you can integrate a lot of what was shared today into your life so that it just doesn't become another audio that you listen to and go about your life with? So we want you to know that the support is available and that we have people like the Ascension Seed to walk you on this path. So can you share a little bit more about where people can go to find you and further receive your medicine?
Yeah, thank you so much to anyone who has listened to this podcast. We're so grateful that you've been here in co creation with us on a vibrational level, because you've been feeding in as well. And in terms of where you can find us, you can follow us on Instagram. We are at the Ascension Seed. And we're always sharing lots of magic there, lots of music and sound and inspiration. And we'd love to connect with you there. In terms of our offerings, you can look out for our course Inclusive Abundance that will be launching again later this year, which is a decolonial abundance healing course. We're also doing a lot of work around new paradigm leadership, initiating souls who are ready to step forth in their sovereign soul leadership. So we have a few offerings around that. One which is paradigm shifters, a 3-week intensive leadership training, and yeah, I mean, we're always open to whatever spirit wants to birth through us. So whatever else comes through this year, if you follow us on Instagram, you'll be there to receive the magic. But please feel free to reach out and send us a message if you've really resonated with anything that you've received or heard
Yes.
today. And yeah, we just love to connect with you all, and just so grateful to you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
inviting us onto this
you.
podcast. Your questions have been amazing and have really provoked some beautiful reflections. Like, yeah, so grateful.
Yeah, to be continued. I'm excited to have you all on again. And yes, what a beautiful embodiment that you are able to create whatever it is spirit is asking of you in the moment. I don't see many other people who are doing that. And that takes such a deep and profound level of trust in something that is outside of you, that people are ready to receive the medicine. So please follow their journey and allow yourself to be a part of this amazing movement and embody the future ancestor that you already are.